Hello and welcome back to my writing vlog series. I'm still doing the Project Katrina and this is writing vlog number 38. I'm filming this on the 4th of February 2026. For this writing vlog I'm going to work on chapter 29, which is the last chapter of this novel. In the previous writing vlog I worked on the climax chapter, chapter 28, and that led up to this last one. And in the previous writing vlog I also said that I need to include some things in the final chapter because there were some revelations in chapter 28 that someone else needs to address in the last chapter. I'm curious to see how much I'm going to have to rewrite or edit in this process, because it needs to fit with what has happened in this new version of the story, and it also needs to fit what has happened between the characters. I want this last chapter to be meaningful and impactful, hopefully, so that the two characters, Katrina and Charlie, leave an impression on the reader and that the reader feels sorry for them. It's a semi-happy, semi-sad ending. I won't say anything else except for that. I won't spoil the story or spoil the ending, but it's bittersweet, I guess you can say. It's not entirely bleak, but it's not entirely happy either. I think it's an ending that suits the characters and the journey that they have been on. As I said earlier, this new version has included a lot more feelings, I hope, and a lot more, I don't know if I should call it dynamic action or something like that, but it's more layered. There were some revelations, as I said, in the chapter before this one, and because of those I need to adjust this last chapter to reflect that, but I also want to end the story on a slightly more positive note than in the original, because in the original it was just that, it was an ending without any possibility for a follow-up story, but I'm planning on making this a bit more open-ended and a bit more positive, so that the reader won't be entirely sad that this story is done, but that there's hope for something more. I hope that this version of the story is more meaningful to the to the reader, and it's more meaningful to me as well. When I first wrote this version of the story, I was sad to write the ending, but it didn't really hit my emotional heart, my feelings that much as I wanted it to. And if I wasn't touched that much by my own story, then I can't expect other readers to be touched by it either. So I'm hoping that this new version is more emotional and more meaningful to everyone. So it's not just me who's affected by what happened in the story. But yes, before I start working on the novel, I will briefly talk about word count. The word count total for this novel is at almost 120,000 words, but that includes these outline paragraphs that I have made and have kept in this document that I will delete once I go and do the next round of edits. I will do a read-through, hopefully a quick read-through off camera, so I can fix these last things, and then the word count will hopefully be smaller than that. And the word count for chapter 29 is approximately 5,800 words. That does not include the notice for myself that I made at the end of the story. I have on the last page of the story or the document a big paragraph marked with yellow background and red text, so it stands out to me that those words are not included in this word count for the chapters, these 5,800 words. I'm curious to see how many words this chapter will be once I'm done reading through and making changes. I'm planning on adding something. I'm pretty sure that I will need to rewrite some parts of this chapter because there are changes that I want to make to reflect what has happened earlier in the story. I will jump into this and then I will get back to you in a few minutes.
You're constantly changing your words, and you're constantly changing your heart. You say I don't have to get hurt, but I'm hurt, 'cause you're changing, it's tearing me apart. You're constantly changing your lies, and you're constantly changing your light. I don't have to tell you goodbye, but honey, I know I will, but I won't tonight. How can you keep on disguising? I guess we don't know each other yet. Constantly changing and constantly lying will only build up a fear in my head. Don't you know I can see through you? And don't you know I will leave soon? So don't say you don't want me to. So now all you'll have left is your faith in the moon. I'll be constantly changing too, so you'll know what it's like to be me. Confused and don't know what to do. You will come back to me, but it ain't that easy. How can you keep on disguising? I guess we don't know each other yet. Constantly changing and constantly lying will only build up a fear in my head. Do you think it is fun? And do you think it's fair? Well, how do you think I felt running around down there? Do you think I'm happy when I've done this to you? But now it's not that easy. I'll keep you suffering too. So now I'll keep on disguising. I know I don't even know you yet. Constantly changing and constantly lying will only knock you right out of my head. So now I'll keep on disguising. I know I don't even know you yet. Constantly changing and constantly lying will only knock you right out of my head.
Hello again. It's about 3 hours later and I have now finished up this round of edits for Project Katrina. It took quite a lot of time to read through everything, or not everything, but read through this last chapter and make edits. I had to change some things because what my characters were talking about didn't really make sense when when thinking about what has happened earlier in the story, and so I needed to tweak that to reflect the new changes I have made. Furthermore, I also added a bunch of new stuff to this last chapter. It's not revolutionary in that sense. I think I needed to add something to round off the story in a more, I don't know if appropriate is the right word, but I wanted to make a proper conclusion to the story and not just let it fade. It kind of faded before and I let a lot of things be up to the reader's imagination, but I would rather like to write a real conclusion to the story and wrap things up instead of just, oh, then she's on her way and then nobody knows what's going to happen. I included this stuff about the revelations, or maybe I actually didn't address what I said that I wanted to have this character address, but I think it's between the lines. These things that my main character and Charlie talked about in the previous chapter when they spilled the beans, so to speak. They told someone else the truth, but maybe I should make a note about that for myself, so I will keep an eye out for that when I read through the story one more time. That will be off camera though. I'm hoping to soon do a new draft of something completely different and thereby also start a new playlist instead of keeping on with the writing vlogs for this project. I'm thinking that those revelations weren't that important for that other character to talk about. Maybe I should mention it briefly that he is aware that those things were said, but no one else heard it, and then it doesn't really make any difference. And so there are a lot of other things that my characters need to talk about and get out in the open before they can move on. Before I started working on this novel today, I talked about the starting word count for this chapter and the story at large. The story's total word count is now 124,000 words, more or less. And that still includes these paragraphs I have written for the outline. And those won't be included in the final version, of course. And the word count for this chapter, after I have edited things and revised things, and I added a lot of new words as well, then the final word count for this chapter is 10,199 words. That's very precise, but I like to be precise. Those words do not include this last section that I have in this chapter that I have marked with red text and yellow background. The outline for this, or it's not really an outline, it's a notice for myself. It's about stuff that I wanted to make sure that I included in this chapter, but once I got busy writing this story or continuing this story and adding things, I think I forgot about what I wanted to address or have this mysterious character address in the story. But I'm just going to make a note for myself at the appropriate place, and then I will hopefully fix that or do something about that in the next round of edits. So I added a lot of stuff to the very ending of the story because I wanted to follow my main character a bit farther than what I did in the original version. She was kind of left hanging, so to speak. My main character and Charlie had to say their goodbyes, and then they just had to go their separate ways, and then I kind of just let that story fade or let that end there. But I wanted to follow her a bit more. Now that they're in separate locations, I can't follow Charlie anymore. But I wanted to stay with my main character for a bit longer to see what she's up to now. Now, in this new version, the story ends on a more positive note, and it's also longer, but I think there's room for a sequel to the story. I might or might not make a sequel at some point, but it's a bit open-ended, but not as open-ended as it was before. I kind of just let it just be up to the reader's imagination, and then, oh, okay, there you go, then you can think about what will happen next. But I think that that's not very nice to do as the writer. I like open endings, but they have to be open in the right way, and I wanted to, as I said earlier, conclude the story in a more appropriate way. I didn't want to make a rounded off ending in that way. I wanted to make room for a sequel. But it's also alright if I end the story here without the sequel. So I think that is just what I'm going to do, at least for now. I hope and think that the story is fine as it is at this point. But there's room for improvement, and I'm going to do this off-camera read-through and then tweak it a bit more. I really hope that I'm done with the big picture edits for this story, because if I begin tweaking or not tweaking, then it's not really tweaks I'm doing, but if I edit or change bigger things in the story that affect other parts of the story, then it's a whole other project in and of itself, instead of just reading it through and then making these smaller changes. I hope that I will just need to do smaller changes, and then once that is done, I'm thinking that I might seek out beta readers for this story so I can get other people's eyes on the story and get their feedback. But yes, that's it. I'm done with this round of edits, and I have made a lot of changes on the bigger scale, but I hope and think that the story is more complete now, and that it reads like a full story and not just a bit scattered. As I have said before in earlier writing vlogs, it was kind of like I skipped crucial plot points of the 27 chapter method. I'm hoping that I've got all of the plot points now. They might not necessarily be in the same order and take up as much space in the novel as they are supposed to, but I think and hope that the story is complete and that readers won't go, oh, there's something missing here, why is this skipped? I wanted to hear about this. Now that I'm done with this read-through and the bigger edits of Project Katrina, I'm ready to go and do something else for the next writing vlogs. I don't know what I'm going to do or what I'm going to work on, but I'm thinking that I will make a video about my goals for 2025 and whether I met those goals or not. Spoiler alert, I didn't. Maybe I was too ambitious for that. But I will make a video about my goals for last year and whether I met them or not, and then I will also do goals or what I want to do in 2026. I should have done this around the new year, and now we're already more than 1 month into 2026, but I hope it's okay even though it's a bit delayed. As we say here in Denmark, it's better late than never. I think as long as you work on things that you want to work on and make progress, then it isn't that important whether you reach the exact goals you have set for yourself or whether you fail at them. I feel a bit discouraged because I didn't meet my goals, but I still got to do some things, and that gives me a bit of a boost or a bit of a confidence boost to know that I can get some things done. And then I can also set my goals or my expectations for this year a bit lower. But I don't know. I haven't made any decisions about what my goals are going to be for this year. I have just been busy working on this Project Katrina and getting these big changes done. And so this video about the goals for last year and the goals for this year will be a bit into the new year. But that's how it is. That's it for this writing vlog, and for now that's it for Project Katrina. I hope you will stick around and watch other of my videos, and hopefully I'll get to draft something for the first time very soon. But yes, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you will watch the next one. Until then, take care. Thank you for watching.